this is something different. I don't think we've ever had a company like this on, and I'm so glad about it. But the CEO of Boomers Works is going to be with us, Ted LaLiberty. And he and his organization, they were at the Boomer Expo. For those of you who are listening and you were there, you'll know what a great booth they had and how busy they were, as along with a lot of the other expo exhibitors. So welcome to our show, Ted.
Thank you, Anita. I'm happy to be here.
Yes, well, as I said, this is unusual. We were talking just a few minutes before we started the show, and it is so common to hear people say, oh, I'm going to be 60 and I probably aren't going to be able to stay here. This isn't, the company's filled with young people. And I always say, but don't they understand that older people are going to give them such great service, and they're going to be on time, and they're seasoned. And so will you tell us what's going on in the society with all this?
Well, I wish I could represent all of society, but I can tell you what our experience has been, and you've described it quite accurately. There's probably 2 or 3 different profiles that we tend to deal with in our database, and we have about 650 boomers right now in our database. And the profiles are sort of in 3 categories, I would say. One is people that really are retired, ready for retirement, have planned their entire lives, have had a nice exit from their career, and just want to stay connected, want to work at their own pace and do some short-term or project work. So that's one of the profiles that we have. A second one is, back in 2008, as you know, the economy didn't do so well, and so for some of our boomers, post-retirement income is absolutely necessary. So this offers them an opportunity to work part-time on either a project basis or a contractual basis, or even on a permanent part-time basis if that's what they're looking for. So that would be the second profile. And then finally, the one that probably is the most disturbing to deal with, and one that we take a personal hand in, is that folks who might be in their late 50s or early 60s have gone through a transition that was none of their own making. The department was downsized, the company went through a right-sizing, whatever the term that was used. They were exited from the workforce not of their own making. And so here's somebody in their late 50s, early 60s, still vibrant, still reliable, still dependable, and never have looked for a job, haven't had to have been with a company a long time, don't know what LinkedIn is, don't have an active resume, and they find themselves unemployed and need to be employed because they want to work a few more years. So that's sort of the third profile we deal with, and putting those all together, it provides an opportunity for any of those individuals to find some meaningful work.
That's a great explanation. Let's move back all the way to the beginning. Whose idea was this?
It actually came out of Canada. I'm actually the chief operating officer and managing partner. Actually went to Canada, heard about this concept and this company in Canada. He ran a recruiting agency in Sarasota and was finding that a lot of individuals of retirement age were coming and presenting resumes and saying, gee, I'd really like to find work. And so he realized there was a special need, found a company in Canada that called Boomers Work Canada, went there and actually negotiated to buy the license for the United States. And so Tim Herron, who was our managing partner, brought it here to Sarasota as sort of an incubator site and started it up. We've been going strong, I think, since October, November of last year, and I joined the company in March of this year.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
When I was listening to you talk, it was so beautifully spoken, and it was so true. And the one thing I was thinking is you probably wind up having some psychologists on your staff, or you become a psychologist, because I think the most damaging, besides not having the money that they're used to, is their attitude of and depressed attitude of, oh, nobody wants me and I'm finished.
Yeah, that's true. And when we talk with employers, particularly ones who are knowledgeable about age differences and skilled workers, one of the things that they highlight for people who are of the boomer generation is that reliability and dependability and maturation are three of the key characteristics that really set them apart and give them an advantage over perhaps younger workers. But it is true that for those who have lost their work through no fault of their own, they really need a little bit of repair work, and that's one of the nice things about the job that I have is I get a chance to sit with them and tell them that they're not alone, that and besides that, there's hope. They just need to get focused, and so we sort of give them a little coaching, career coaching along the way, and help them get focused on the right approach.
Now, do you reach across the country? I mean, are there people who are asking for these for boomers who may be in Texas or other places besides Florida?
Yeah, we chose Florida because of its demographics. And if it can work in Florida, we think it can work in many places in the country. But we do have about 10% of our boomer database that's in other states. I guess the one that has the most number of boomers besides Florida would be a state like Texas or a state like California, interestingly enough. And our focus really, while we help them make connections, our focus really for the short term is going to be on Florida and helping folks in Florida connect with the workforce.
All right. So now I'm sure that you have placed people. Tell me some of the jobs that you have been able to create for people.
Well, the jobs that, if you look at Florida in terms of what kind of industries are in Florida, obviously tourism and healthcare and manufacturing and IT are some of the leading opportunities for individuals in Florida, at least, and in Sarasota in particular, and in the greater Sarasota region, Tampa, down to Fort Myers. We've placed people in healthcare. We've placed them in IT. We've placed them in financial services. We've placed them in agencies, home health agencies, where people are looking for part-time and contractual kinds of relationships. And so it really is all over the board, but for the most part, we deal with a cut of boomers that, as you probably know from your background, we're seeing people retire at the rate of about $45,000 a month. And of those, about 15% are in what we call the professional categories, and that's the segment that we deal with people that have had careers in some of the professions. And so that's why we focus on those kinds of industries.
All right, so you are like a recruiter in a way. So I have to assume that you go after companies and you tell them what your company's about and what you can do, and then people who see your advertising will call you to say, "Hey, I need a job," right?
That's correct. For the boomer, it's free. We have a 4-part process, and they just get on and register, and then when they finish their registration process, they're eligible at that point to be matched with employers who are looking for particular kinds of job opportunities. And so the employers come on. They're the ones that pay a fee. It's reasonable and much more reasonable than what you'd see in a job board or in the newsprint, the cost for a newsprint. And so they come on. They put their postings online. The boomer's information is kept confidential and private, and so is the employer. So you can't go on our site and say, "Oh, here's 15 jobs that are listed by type of employer." What you do is register, and then the software takes your background, matches it against what an employer has for needs, and then the match is made by the software. You're notified as a boomer that there's a match waiting for you. The employer is notified that he's got a match and a boomer that's matching. And so at that point, it's up to the boomer to decide whether he's interested in the type of job that he's been matched with. Same for the employer. We're sort of, I guess, the analogy that some of you use, we're the eHarmony of matchmaking when it comes to boomers and employers. But we really, at that point, step back and let the boomer and the employer negotiate rates, negotiate terms of employment, all of that. We will help both parties if they ask, but for the most part, we simply make the match, and then from there on, it's up to the two individuals to work out the details.
Okay, so this is really lovely. Do you have any competition?
Right now, we're not aware of any competition. There's plenty of competition. There's plenty of job boards where you can send your resume in. In fact, at the expo, one of the things that we heard many of boomers talk about was, I can't tell you how many resumes I've sent into these job postings and never heard a thing. And that's a little bit different from what we do. We go through a matching process, and therefore, it's a much, I think, more humane way of finding employment.
Certainly is. Well, I'm wondering how old. Now we know what boomers really are, but are you going to place anyone who's 75?
Sure. We've found. I think what we heard also at the expo, but we found in our database is that our average age, if somebody wants to be employed, we see boomers registering in their early 70s to mid 70s. It's not a matter of how old they are or what their age bracket necessarily is. It's really what their work experience is, what their interest level is, and how much time they can devote to a job if they were offered one. And again, we're talking mostly about short-term consulting or part-time work.
Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, okay. So, when I think about it, now you're going to laugh about this. You probably didn't get to meet my husband. My husband is he's 90, and he has a master's degree in city planning. He's built, I don't know if you're even familiar with a place called Columbia, Maryland, but he's really big time. He's done a lot of things, and he's writing books. And if someone came to him and said, "Hey, Bill, I want you to take over this," and he'd be right there.
And you know what? It's the energy level and the resilience and the brilliance of our boomers that really does work. And I don't think your husband is unique. I think that some choose not to want to be in a position where they want to reengage in the workforce, but for your husband and many others, it's people still want to stay connected. I talked with a boomer just the other day who said, I've just retired, and honestly, being disconnected from the workforce, I planned for it. I knew it was going to happen, but it was like somebody threw a light switch and the lights went out, and all of a sudden, all of my contacts with the business community were gone, and I felt like that part of my life was over. So the opportunity to reengage, again, the way that I want to reengage, I want to work just part-time, but I want to stay engaged is a fun part of this opportunity in this company.
Well, I am just absolutely enthralled with what you're doing because my husband and I wrote a book in 1992 called Live to Be 100 Plus. And in it, of course, someone says, why do I want to live to be 100 plus? And I say, well, there's so many things you can do. Of course, a lot of people took to volunteering after they retired because there was nothing else out there. But they didn't really want to. And then there are those that really do need money. And, of course, you find them. Amazing who you find at Publix working as bag boys, and they just want to stay busy. Some of them don't need to work, but I just think that this whole idea is so exciting for me to be a part of, and we're so happy that we've connected together because I have a lot of people who ask me about jobs. And Ted, you better believe I am going to recommend the people who want people and the people who are looking. So you'll be hearing from me.
Well, thank you, Anita. I appreciate that. And by the way, I got this job because I was in the database and matched up with boomersworks.com.
I didn't dare ask you that, but I was curious because I don't know how old you are. But let me tell everybody, my guest is Ted LaLiberty. He is the CEO of Boomers Work. UP.US. And again, Boomers Work returns seasoned managers, supervisors, professionals, and executives to career satisfaction, a dynamic workplace and income, all on their own terms without a commitment to full-time employment. And if you want more information, just get out your pencils. Remember, this is Pencil Talk Radio, and it's boomerswork.us. boomerswork.us. And we are so happy that now we can offer boomers and people maybe even a little bit older than that a place that they can maybe find something. It might even be a new kind of a career. It doesn't necessarily mean that if you were in high tech that that's what you go to, because you can take your skills and do something else. So tell me, if someone, what should they do? Just contact you on your website, which is very nice, by the way, or should they just call you? I don't think I saw a phone. Yeah, you do have a phone number, don't you, to call?
We do. We have an IT department that supports the website, so we quickly return, when people make inquiries on the website, we quickly return their emails. Or they can reach us. Our phone number, the central number is 941-444-5793, and we're here 8 to 10 hours a day during the week, and always return our calls.
Oh, that is so nice. And where are you actually physically? Where do you have your office? Are you in Sarasota?
We are. Our corporate headquarters are in Sarasota, but we service all of Florida.
Okay, so I'm sure that you help people with resumes. I'm sure that you help people, you talk to them and try to figure out what they really want to do. There's a lot to working with people. I have a friend who actually, he's a psychologist. He has a PhD in psychology, and he invented a system for high-powered companies who want to hire their top executives, and it's a psychological test. So, do you have testing for people?
We do. It's interesting that you asked that question. Our registration process is 4 parts. You register online. Then you fill out a profile, which is really answering a few questions about your background and experience. And then there are 2 optional parts that employers are starting to almost make mandatory now. The first part is just what you asked about, which is a personality profile. It's called a Menti test. That's like a Myers-Briggs for those folks who've been in industry and taken these kinds of tests. But it's a personality test, and you get a full printout of the answers to all the questions that you gave and what it says about you as a person. But it really is just to see if you are a good fit for the organization, and if the organization is a good fit for you. The final part is an interview on the computer. You sit in front of the computer and you do a video interview answering a series of questions. And the employers are really excited about that part because they get to see the candidates before they come in. And while some might be intimidated by that, some boomers might be intimidated by doing that kind of interview. Trust me, when you get the match, you know that they know who you are and what you look like and what you sound like, and so it makes a much better first interview when you've been matched with an employer.
Now, I have to tell you something. You're going to laugh, but we have an advertiser called Florida Singles. And they match people, and they pay. I mean, people pay from $4,000 to $10,000 for the perfect person, and they get about 6 or 7 tries of people who have such similarities to one another. So it's not like going like a free-for-all, getting on all these other free sites. And I was thinking about it as you were saying that it has a lot of similarities, except that you're not looking for a lover, you're looking for a good employee.
Well, sometimes the employment relationship can be that tight, but I think you're right. We're not quite the same.
But it's really better than, look, I hire people from time to time, graphic designers, and I don't really have that kind of process. Okay, show me what you've done, and every once in a while, I am surprised, and I say to myself, you should have really done this a little bit, more carefully. So I appreciate what you do. Sure.
Yeah, it's a fun program and a fun way to work with boomers, and there are a few people on our website and in our database that aren't specifically or don't necessarily qualify for boomer age, the range. They're either older or they're younger and are looking for employment opportunities, but that's okay. We accept all comers.
Well, I'm just thinking as we were talking, I know probably about 3 gentlemen right now, maybe 2 women, who are really terrific. And they've always said to me, well, if you find a real good job, and I have one he's really has the degree in law, but he's been in other things, and he's written a book, and he says, I guess I'm going to go back to work. And he started working with a law firm, but he doesn't want to work as a lawyer anymore. And he'd be terrific. I am definitely going to, I don't know if you saw him at the expo, because he was one of our major volunteers, but we won't give a name on the radio, but I'm going to definitely get him hooked up to you unless he already talked with you. And I know a doctor, a woman who doesn't want to be a doctor anymore, but she's sharp, she's beautiful, and who knows?
Yeah, it doesn't. You're right about that, and frankly, some of the backgrounds that we have, people are actually stepping into new territories. My background, I was in healthcare as a CEO and president of healthcare systems for 35 years.
No
and,
kidding.
I'm working for a startup company, and it's an internet-based company. So it's the matches are not necessarily you have to be in that category. It's really what you say you're interested in and what the employers are interested in.
That's good. I'm glad you have such an open mind. And so how many people do you actually have working with you? I mean, as a staff? I mean, are you large?
We have about 7 people in our office here in Sarasota, and we just, part of what I've been doing is bringing the Canadian operation into one company with a U.S. operation. And so in Canada, we have 3 individuals. As the database has been growing and as our frankly, as the word has gotten out about us, we're in the market to hire probably another 3 or 4 account representatives who are people who will go out and talk with employers and explain what we do and how we do it, because we're really starting to pick up some energy and traction here.
Is the biggest problem the difference in what you can offer financially to a boomer compared to what you can get younger people for, or is that a situation that you deal with?
It is in full-time employment, and I hear that often, Anita, as I talk with employers. But as it turns out, it's just the opposite for the kinds of work that we're doing, because boomers who are looking for this contractual work and are on our website, part-time work, really are probably more affordable than even hiring a full-time person at a lower wage. And so we don't see that kind of pushback or resistance as we place our folks. It's really, as I said, just almost the opposite. That economically, you don't have to pay these individuals benefits. You don't have to worry about if they're going to show up or when they're going to show up, because they're under contract or under a commitment. And frankly, people with seniority and experience tend to be the ones that are reliable. So we have a pretty good mix here.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you about benefits. So, but there are people, boomers could be 55 and 60, and they really do need benefits.
That's right. And what we try to, and usually those might be folks who have been displaced, not of their own reasons. And so what we try to say to folks as they're looking at this part-time opportunity is, listen, this is the chance for you to get to know the company and for them to get to know you. And the fact is that it may turn out to be something that can work into more regular hours or even a full-time position. We've had a couple situations that have happened like that, but part of it, you were mentioning it earlier, part of the psychology of working with somebody who's been displaced is that they're going to have to enter the workforce in different ways than they perhaps had hoped to. And so this is one way that's a little bit different, but can end up being a full-time position if that's what they're looking for.
Yeah, of course, a lot of the companies that were temps. I saw, for instance, in offices I'd worked, you see someone came in as a temp before you know they've been hired. And so you're right. If someone is really good, it's a really good way to get started. And I was thinking about what you said. So here's an opportunity where someone could work part-time, and then they can do something they really want to do, and the other part still bring in money, still feel like they're a part of society. And, somebody could even volunteer the other part of the time that they're not doing this. And I am so in love with what you are doing, and I'm so pleased that we hooked up somehow, because it's been a missing link in my my eyes. And I deal with this. Of course, I've been doing this for 25 years and chose to become a gerontologist and wanted to so much to help the senior person. And then, of course, now it came down to the boomer person. And it's been fraught with problems. And because it's a whole new, I guess I call it a new Technicolor movie. People haven't ever experienced this before. And so they're it's an proving ground right now. And maybe you're going to write the book, huh? You already figured out the book? It's going to be called Boomers Work.
We've got a couple of chapters.
See, that's it. Well, I'm glad that you're doing this. Tell me about the ratio of men to women.
Yeah, I think that in our database, probably the mix is something like 55-45 male to female, and the reason that we have as many females as we do is because, if folks are looking at they came out of healthcare or they came out of some sort of work that was administrative or managerial, and they're looking to get back in, this just offers an opportunity to do that. So we see pretty much an even mix, but a little bit more skewed towards the males.
And also the mix of people who are well-educated professionals compared to more blue-collar workers.
Yeah, we actually have been talking about, and someone suggested that we think about starting another site called boomersworkblue.us. And I think that, while it's a great idea...
No, I don't think so.
we tend to deal with a different percentage of the workforce. So.
Right. No, that's funny. Yeah, but I know these are questions because when your sales executives go out now to go to corporations, they're really looking for people, I believe, who have maybe just at least a college degree or something, so that even though there are plenty of great people who don't have degrees and they work, but you're really forging new ground, and I admire what you're doing, and I really wish you so much success, and I hope that we can continue to work together because I'd love to just sit with you. I'd like to meet with you personally at some point and see what we can collaborate on. This could be just a lot of opportunities are in my brain. So I just want everyone to know you've listened to Ted LaLiberty, who is the CEO of boomerswork.us. If you want to make a phone call, if you want more information, of course, you can go on their website, which is boomerswork.us, but you can call them at 941-444-5793. And I wish you so much good luck, Ted, and I know that we will be talking soon.
Thank you, dear. We really appreciate the time, and I want to thank you and the station for giving us this opportunity.
Great. There'll be more. Just keep placing people.
We will.
Okay. Thank you, Ted.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Bye-bye.